how to design your business. The first question you're going to ask is, who is it for? Now, this is where a lot of people get stuck, and it's because they overcomplicate it. It doesn't have to be, it can be very easy. You want people who have a shared interest with you, they have the same goal as you, or they have the same problem to solve. And so an easy way to think about this is scratching your own itch. Because right now, if there's a problem that you're trying to solve, whether it's like, I want to learn how to day trade, or I want to learn how to flip houses, or I want to learn how to paint, or I want to learn how to play ping pong, all of these things are things that you might be inherently interested in. And so one of the easiest lenses and some of the biggest and most successful businesses of all time have been started by founders and entrepreneurs who are like, I suffered with this problem for a long time. I just want to solve the problem or find the solution. And the cool thing is that you don't have to be the expert. Now, if you already are the expert, you know how to do watercolor paint, you know how to paint, you know how to play ping pong, you know how to fix cars, you know how to day trade, whatever it is, like you can be the expert. But I think the majority of you will probably opt for something like this, which is crowdsourcing, which is finding other people who are simply interested in solving the same problem as you, and then using the community, leveraging your community to help solve the problem together. Now, they can go out, find the answers, bring them back to the community, and then that provides value to everyone else. But also, and this is a skeleton key of life for you to gain access to people you otherwise wouldn't, is that when you put a group together of 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000 people, you can then reach out to other people who are way above you in terms of status or reach or following and say, hey, I've got this community. I'd love to give you access to them if you'd be willing to make a 30-minute video with me or do a call with my community for Q&A. And people who, like, you'll be able to punch way above your weight class because you can actually provide something to them, which is distribution of their message. And so you actually get a favor from the person who's doing the Q&A, and you are perceived as delivering value to your community, and so you get a win-win for everyone. So right off the bat, you probably know if you're an expert, and if you're not an expert, this is probably going to be the path for you. And Skool's been built to facilitate this model so that you no longer have a reason to not get started. The next question you have to ask is, do I want my community to be free, or do I want it to be paid? If you're just starting out, start for free. Get people in the community, find out what they like, start providing value to them, learn how to actually run a community. And then at any point, when you feel confident enough that you can provide value to an audience and that that audience in of itself is valuable, you can flip it to paid. And so the nice thing is that this is an irreversible decision. You can start here and then eventually move to paid when you feel confident. And if you're already confident that you can provide value to an audience, you can start at paid right up front. So now that you know who you're going to be solving problems for, people who have the same interests, problems, goals as you, you're scratching your own itch, you're figuring out whether you're going to go crowdsourced if you don't know what to do, expert if you already do, free if you're not as confident, paid if you already are. So the next question is, what are you actually going to put inside? And so there's three big buckets of stuff. You've got access, which is the people in the community gaining access to you. So believe it or not, especially if you're new to this, if there's 100 people who all want time with you, your time becomes pretty scarce really quickly. And so access to you becomes valuable in and of itself. And there's lots of ways to do this. And I'll give you some examples in a second. The second thing is content itself, because this is a closed area. So you can put content that you don't put public, or that you can make exclusive. All of these things are about being exclusive to the community. The third is events. Now, events can be digital, they can be in person, so you can do a wide variety of types of events. It can be with lots of people, it can be with very small people. It could be going on a hike, or it could be doing a big digital conference. Any of these things fit within what you could put inside. And so the idea is that you want to create a schedule or a cadence around when you're going to be providing these things. And so, for example, for access, it might be a Q&A call with you, but it might also just be giving access to people that your community doesn't otherwise have access to. And so if I were fixing cars as my group, because that was what I was into, then I would find a master mechanic or something like that, or who worked on this really type of historic car, ask them to do a Q&A with my community. Now, if one of my community members just tried to reach out to that guy, he probably wouldn't respond. But if I've got 2,000 other mechanics or people who are interested in cars, he probably would. And so they would gain access to people they otherwise wouldn't. With the content, you do things that you or the community creates that provides value. Now, everything I just listed is not an exclusive list of things you can do. You can do anything that you can possibly imagine that provides value to your audience. And so, two easy questions to think about this is, if you're scratching your own itch, what do you think is epic? If you're like, man, it'd be so epic if this happened, that's a great place to start for value you can provide to your community. The other way to do this is just ask them, hey guys, what do you think would be cool? And remember, you now have the collective asking power of the whole community. and you are their champion to go ask on their behalf. And so don't take that responsibility lightly, and you'll be amazed at what doors can open. Now, what actually provides value? Because people throw this word around a lot. So what makes a community valuable? I like to go back to the value equation, which is from my book, $100 Million Offers. There's the outcome or the problem that you're solving. So as long as you're all, this is why the who is so important, so that we're actually making sure we're solving the same problem for all these people. But assuming this is aligned, which it should be at this point, the other three variables are going to determine how valuable your group is, which is the solutions and content you make. Does it make whatever problem you're solving lower risk than if they didn't have that? So if you explain how to not blow up your car, that would lower the risk of doing this thing. Or how to not break the tool that you used, that would lower the risk of whatever the implementation was. If you can help them do it faster, they will like you more. If it normally takes a year and you can show them a way to do whatever it is in 3 months, that's valuable. And if you can do it in a way that doesn't make them stop doing the stuff that they like doing or start doing stuff they hate doing, the effort and sacrifice, then they'll like you more. You'll be providing value. And so whenever you're thinking about the content or the access or the events, this should always be the underlying goal. How can I make it less risky for my audience? How can I make it faster? And how can I make it easier? So if you choose to start for free, one of the big things I want to emphasize is that you can start here and then eventually switch to paid when you have more confidence. And that could be in month 2 or month 3 or month 6, because you should see this as you're building an audience, and that audience is the most valuable asset you have and that you will have over time. And so like, don't worry about this month, next month, the month after. It's about building that asset. And if it takes a little bit of time, welcome to business. But once you have that asset, you can pretty much get yourself set up financially for the rest of your life. And so I'm all about doing things fast, but I'm more about doing them right. And so you can start free and in a couple months switch to paid. And when you do switch to paid, have so much more momentum that you can skyrocket to the top and win. Because if you start your community that's paid with 1,000 members already in it, for example, and then you have paid people who come in later, you already have this super lively community that there's valuable people, there's great contributors. It's kind of like showing up to an empty party versus showing up to a party that's already rolling. Early on in the night at the club, they let people in for free, and then at past a certain point, once there's enough people, they start switching and paying for tickets to buy in. Right? Same idea, just done digitally. And so you can do it either way, but don't be ashamed or don't be worried about starting for free because you're like, when am I going to go to paid? You're actually going to set yourself up for a really solid paid community if you start free first. So don't worry about it if you're starting here.